I had a friend years ago. He was in Puerto Rico, and he'd been there for many months, and he was so glad to go home. He went to the airport, and he was seated there, and he got a USA Today and got a cup of coffee, waiting for his plane to arrive. While he was sitting there, he heard two little boys arguing, and it was across the way, and he assumed they were brothers. One looked to be about 8, and one was probably 5. And before long, he heard, pow! And the older brother had slapped the little 5-year-old. And the 5-year-old, you see the whelp on his face. He began to cry, and in a minute, he looked over there and said, where's the mom and dad? And then he looked away again, and then he heard whap, whap, whap. And that 8-year-old had that 5-year-old down on the floor in that airport lounge, and he was pounding him, pounding him. Blood was coming off his face, and he said, where's his mom and dad? He said, I got up there, and I got the older boy, and I pulled him off, and I got the little boy up who was crying hysterically and bleeding on his face. He said, where's the mom and dad? And then the announcement came, last call for flight to Miami. And he said, all right. He looked at other people there who were disinterested. And he said, you keep these boys apart. Find their parents. And he went and got on the plane and sat down. He said, I was so upset and broken. I tried to read. I couldn't do it. He said, then I began to think, what's the answer for that, particularly the 8-year-old? If he is using his fist at 8, beating up his brother who was totally defensive, I wonder what he'll be doing when he's 18. Would he be throwing knives or bullets? Then he said, what is the answer for that guy? Do you think he's going to grow up and marry and have children, have a home and a life that counts? What's going to make a difference in his life? He said, well, maybe they can elect some better people in government and they'll pass some laws. And he said, no, that really won't help him. He said, well, maybe he'll go and get a fine education. He'll wake up and realize some values and that will change him. He said, no, that won't help him. He said, I realized the only thing that would change that boy and heal that younger brother and awaken the family in which they were living was the body of Christ, the church. The church is the answer. To virus today, to confusion tomorrow, to all the world's maladies, it is the body of Christ. In such a time as this, we try to read the signs of the time. God's answer is the church alive and functioning as he intends for it to live, as he intends for it to function.